So this is a portrait project which is based on a portrait of an animal, in this case a fox. So he starts off with some research and some pencil work, quite a distinctive background and way of writing, almost a sense of these felt pen lines echo the fur, I suppose, of a red fox. That's where the idea comes from. Move on to colour pencil work, some factual information, very nice layout. One looks at this and thinks there could be more pictures, but there are. Then he goes on to some painting work. A few more pictures. And then he goes on to a fourth material, which in this case is oil pastel. If we look at his black sheet work, again you can see it reflected, painting, pastel, drawing work, and there is an additional drawing there too. If we move on and look at his research work, we see starts off looking at Van Gogh's work, speaks about this painting with the lots of short brush strokes. He's tried to do this work with lots of short brush strokes in the way Van Gogh might. And then he goes to a second artist who is David Hockney. He starts off with some David Hockney work, some information about Hockney's life. He's got an analysis of one of Hockney's photo montages, who use multiple images overlapping to create this sense of movement in the work. You can see he started to do that with the fox. So although he hasn't got as much as one would expect on one artist over perhaps 8 pages in the sketchbook, he's looking at Van Gogh's style of working for actually applying paint and brush strokes, but then he's also looking at the way Hockney arranges his compositions in this photo montage style. So he's looking at two artists in less detail than perhaps one would look at one. So here we've got him doing some development work, and also for development work he's produced this piece of work. And if we have a look at then the black sheet work, you can see that he's taken this piece, he's done a copy of it, a photocopy of it, and he's used it to cut up and produce a photo montage piece of work without destroying the individual. If we go back to more development work, one of the things about this piece of work is we don't see much artwork. It tends to need some pictures, or it needs some step-by-step examples of how the final piece was developed. If we look, he's done this extra piece, and again if we look at his development piece, we see how he's not cut it up now in an ordered way with the scissors and with right angles, but he's taken a stage further, and his idea is to do this photo montage collage type approach where he's ripped out the images and layered them. And finally, if we look at the final piece, what we see in the final piece is he's combined both images and created these two foxes, one looking from a front view and one looking from a side view, and combined them into a more striking and major piece. One could argue that the final piece in this case is based on these two images and should, based on a fresh start on original images rather than repeatedly using copies of an image which has already been produced. But nonetheless, a good idea for a project, a good effort at showing the influence of two artists rather than one, and some striking final work, albeit with the weaknesses that I would have liked to have seen the final piece of artwork all painted, for example.